Hello everyone, this is Durden77 bringing you a video on Dragon Ball Legends, which is like the only game I play these days, for better or worse. I really like this game a lot. It's a mobile game. I think it's actually really good in a lot of ways. And, I might have some videos just kind of generally going over stuff on why I love this game so much and why it sucks up so much of my goddamn time, but what I want to do now is I just want to talk about teams. Right now, in my opinion, this is one of the most varied metas I've ever seen in this game. You have a whole lot of options when it comes to team creation, and team creation, in my opinion, is probably my favorite part about this game. I feel like this game does not get enough credit it deserves when it comes to team creation. I think they give you a ton of options each time they release a new character for new teams, as well as, changing up old characters as well. So pretty much what I want to do is just go into, make some videos going into some of the teams that I like most that might be kind of overlooked. A lot of times people in this game see like the top teams and they just think that's it. There's no other option, but no, there's plenty of other options. This is not Android 16 the game. You have plenty more options. You do not have to blow yourself up, I promise. So what I'm going to go into right now is PurpPurpRed. This is generally my main team with movies like right with it. And it's, in my opinion, one of, if not the best team in the entire game. This team is so good for so many reasons. And I will try my best to explain it here, but honestly, it just, this team, everything about this team is good. So I hope I don't take up too much time. So, first off, starting off, we're going to go with the active roster. We've got One Hand Spirit Bomb Goku. We've got the man, the myth, the big dick, Purple Brawly. And then we've got Red Brawly, who's a free Sparking that you can grind out. You cannot get him anymore. He has left. He has went back to his home planet. I forgot what the planet's called though. It's the place with the big green guys with the ears, but he will come back. So if he comes back, I highly recommend grinding that guy up to 5 stars. He's extremely good and he's essential for making this team work. And then on the bench, you've got Android 17, which is going to be buffing your blast attack and defense. You've got Turles, who's going to be buffing your strike attack and defense. And then you've got Raditz. Good old Raditz. Been around since like week 2 of the beta. Still hanging in there. He's going to buff your Saiyan max health by 17%. Of course, that's going off the stars I have. Your guys might buff you guys a little bit less or more, depending on how many stars you've got. But I know everybody's got Raditz up there because you gotta be pulling Raditz. That's part of Legends. You just gotta pull a lot of Raditzes. Anyway, so what makes this team go so good, and this is what we call a color counter team. If you're not familiar with that term, then that means that we stack the team with purples, because generally if you do a monocolor team, your buffs, your Z ability buffs, are just generally going to be more potent than like a category rainbow team. So you see my ability bonus is 1478. That is without buffing up Raditz, and that's without a couple of things, and that's with Turles being incredibly weak. Like, this makes me so sad. This is him fully buffed out. This is his stats. Like, what the fuck is this? Come on, like, Turles is one of my favorite characters in the game, and like in Dragon Ball period. I love it. I'm not a huge fan of the non-canon movies typically, but I love Tree of Might. I want to use this guy. Like, I just can't. Ugh, it's bad. Anyway, back to it. So generally speaking, what we're trying to do is we're trying to buff the shit out of our purple units, which are going to be One Hand Spirit Bomb Goku and Brawly. Now, the thing is running just a straight mono team in this game is pretty dangerous. It's not impossible, and I actually have a straight mono team that I will go into a little bit later. I'll make another video about, but it's generally pretty dangerous because if someone shows up with a yellow or something along that lines, and if they can run through your entire team. Like if someone shows up with a yellow Frieza and you have nothing but purple, especially purple Saiyans, which Frieza just sees as like a massive feast, then he might just run through your entire team. You might not ever be able to deal with that purple. So the idea of mono teams in this game, we typically call them color counter teams, because you want to stack it with purple, but then you want to put one counter color on the team that can counter the purple's counter. So for instance, purple's counter is yellow. So you want to have one red unit on this team, and that is our Rage Brawly here. Now, what typically happens a lot with color counter teams, though, is, you're buffing the shit out of your purple units, but then your red unit is left out to dry. The red unit doesn't receive any buffs. It typically doesn't send out any buffs. So it's going to be noticeably weaker than your purple units, and to the point where it might not even be able to deal with the color that it's intended to deal with. Now, that's what makes this team so good, is on top of the fact that you're getting the benefits from running a color counter team. This team has synergy with its counter color, as well as it's just so much goddamn synergy. So the synergy comes from the fact that all three of these guys, these top three active guys, they're all movie units. Now, Brawly does not buff purple. One-Hand Spirit Bomb does, but Brawly buffs blast attack for movies. He buffs blast strike and blast attack for movies if you get him to 5-star, which I was so close, but just didn't happen. And so that means that he, regardless, even though, One-Hand Spirit Bomb Goku buffs the shit out of purple, which is really great defensively, he's also going to receive this buff as well as Red Brawly. Now, Red Brawly also buffs movies as well. He buffs strike attacks from the movies. So he's also sending out these buffs. They're both receiving that, and he's receiving the movie buffs himself. And of course, Raditz, is just buffing all three of you guys. So pretty much, Red Brawly is not left out in the cold. He's not getting as many buffs as the purple guys, but he is getting enough buffs to make it by and deal with the yellows that might come about. But the real kicker is that Red Brawly has this amazing ability for movie teams, which is called Chaining Power. So whenever he's switched out, he gives 20% to damage received. It's pretty much damage cut. So you get 20% less damage, as well as 20% damage inflicted. This only works for movie units, but both of these guys are movie units. So on top of the fact that they are both just stat monsters, like both of these guys, after One-Hand Spirit Bomb Goku was buffed, both of these guys have some of the absolute best stats in the game, like especially defensive-wise. That's one of the reasons why I love this team so much, is I've always generally been more of a defensive player. I play Guile in Street Fighter and, all this stuff. Like, I've always generally been more of a defensive fighting game player. These guys' defense just goes on for days, and then you stack on the 20% on top of that both of them get, both of the movies, and these guys can just fucking take anything. They can tank yellow hits. They can tank yellow Frieza hits. Like, yeah, at that point you're starting to kind of play with fire a little bit, but pretty much I'm always starting Red Brawly, even if I'm up against like the Trinity, which typically 99.9% starts Bardock, Super Saiyan Bardock, who's a blue, just because that switching out and getting that buff is so powerful. So for instance, if I start Red Brawly and they start blue Bardock, well, if they happen to get the first hit on me, I can let Red Brawly take a hit, maybe even two from Bardock, because he hits hard, but not that hard. But then I can just switch to One-Hand Spirit Bomb Goku, or I can switch, if I know that they might go into a yellow, I can switch into Brawly, because he just don't give a fuck about element advantage. And they'll just take it. They'll just take all of it, and it's with that 20% buff, like, you're literally, there's times where people are hitting, especially One-Hand Spirit Bomb Goku, it's just not doing any damage. Like, yeah, technically it's doing damage, but really, it's just not doing any damage. Now, on top of that, another amazing kicker to this team is the reason why I have Raditz on this team is he boosts all their health. Now, all three of these characters can heal, including Red Brawly, which I feel like some people kind of forget about. But all three of these characters can heal, and they can all heal by a significant amount. When he transforms, he heals by 20%. I think it's the same thing for One-Hand Spirit Bomb Goku, 20%, as well as Red Brawly might be actually the exact same as well. Yep, 20%. So the bigger you make their health pool, the more they're going to heal when they do activate that heal. So, not only are you dealing with a synchronized color counter team that works well with movies, not only are you dealing with the fact that Red Brawly can just buff these guys into oblivion, not only are you dealing with the fact that these are two of, if not the tankiest units in the game, that Red Brawly is making even tankier, And these units can dish out damage as well, especially Super Saiyan Brawly. Got no problem giving the damage right back. He actually gets stronger when he gets hit. And then one-hand Spirit Bomb Goku, both Purple Brawly and Red Brawly can't really take advantage of the green cards that much. Purple Brawly, it is good for him, but it's kind of situational. But Purple Goku, not only does he get, just general great stat buffs that make his attack pretty good, but if you save the green cards for him, his super can completely change the game. I had 2 green cards on him, and you're probably going to kill a character. On top of the fact that he's a crisis unit, so if these 2 guys, which are pretty high, target guys, go down, then Purple Goku can bring out back the entire game himself if played correctly. I actually just did that a couple of matches ago, brought back the entire game just with Purple Goku. Knowing that he was going to get a strike damage buff and a special move buff. But anyway, on top of all that, once these guys get hit enough and they take damage, they can fucking heal. So, on top of the fact of all this shit, they can heal on top of that, which is just unreal. In my opinion, this is one of the most stable teams in the entire game. It's just defense for days, just attack for days, really, it's very, there's times where I've gone up against units with, teams with 2 yellows, including maybe Frieza and things of that nature, and I still win without much issue. And last little thing, it's just really the, just the cherry on top here, is, I mentioned it briefly, but Brawly just doesn't give a fuck about element advantage. If once you bring him in, he, if you, of course this can run out, yes, of course, but if you play this correctly, you can pretty much keep this going throughout the entire game. He can get it a total of 4 times, 2 of those times for 10 counts, and the other 2 times for 15 counts. So if you play your cards correctly, you can, use the entire game. He pretty much doesn't give a fuck about yellows. So, even on top of that, the big dick in the middle really just does not give a fuck about yellows, so it kind of nullifies a lot of the issue. Pretty much, you think of Brawly as a shallot character, a white character, where he can just kind of come in and do his thing if he needs to, and he just doesn't have to worry about dealing with that shit. So that also counters another big issue that a lot of color counters have, to where if you hit them with too many of their counter colors, they just might not be able to get out of it. So anyway, like I said, the team, this is probably going to be the longest of my team videos. I just think this team is so fucking good. I rarely, if ever, lose with this team, and a lot of times it almost just feels like I'm on easy mode playing this team. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and cut it here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to some gameplay, and I'll talk over that as well, giving you an idea of why this team is so good. Show it in action. All right, so here we go with my PurpPurpRed team, going up against a pretty standard future team. Typically you want Mai in there, but considering the fact that I got perps for days, it probably scared her off. Anyway, so I wanted to show this match in particular because it really demonstrates how stable this team is, because I make a good amount of mistakes in this match, and I also believe that both of my Rising Rushes get gassed. So yet I still just kind of have the raw power and utility that I need to get through this. So anyway, kind of just standard stuff so far. Got in one-hand Spirit Bomb Goku, switches in Trunks, and I go ahead and go for this Rising Rush, even though I'm pretty sure this is going to happen, and it does. But Zamasu is such a bitch of a character anyway that I would have been fine at least getting his damage, his health pretty low. But he guesses it, and Zamasu is all about not having these mortals and Saiyans in his world, in his utopia, so he's going to get extra boosted damage to Goku, but you see, it's still really not that much, even with his boost. The damage cut is now gone, and he goes into the Rising Rush. I pick a strike card because, I don't fucking know, and he's hitting me with a lot of blasts, but it's a super card, because who fucking knows, and he cuts Goku. I'm pretty sure it's going to kill him. Now, one-hand Spirit Bomb, Goku's role on this team is so great because he can either take the hit from the primary target, which is typically going to be Purple Brawly, or either he can, if the primary target does get taken out, he can totally hold his own because of his crisis ability. He can kind of low-key just collect green cards throughout the match, and then when it's down to just him and Red Brawly, or even just him, he can make shit happen. So just another example of amazing synergy in this team. Anyway, so we're just going. I go ahead and pop this main ability, heal myself, and try to rip through his blast. That's a mistake because I timed it too late. He key blast cancels correctly out of that, and I am able to luckily dodge his attack there. Bring out Brawly here. Trunks is gonna hit me, but you see, he's just not really gonna do damage. Like, even his blast damage. Oh, well, I dodged that, but even his blast damage doesn't do that much to Brawly with the Red Brawly buff. Now, that was a bad place to put my main ability. Made it a lot easier for my approach to potentially get correctly guessed. But I still managed to get out of the little skirmish there and throw the planet at Gohan. Managed to get my Vanish back, switch back to Red Brawly. Just kind of your standard stuff here. Trying to kill this dude that's supposed to have one arm, but for some reason has two. And then Zamasu, of course, just starts doing his thing, trying to kill Zamasu. I don't think I've killed him once yet. You gotta kill Zamasu twice. Bad timing on that dodge there. I could have got my Vanish back if I would have waited a little bit longer, but did not. Whatever, it's still okay. Brings in Trunks, and this dude seems very susceptible to single tap vanishes, single tap baits. That's the reason why you see me using that so much. Managed to get in Brawly, kill Gohan because he just doesn't care about yellows. He just sees them the same as any other color. He does not discriminate. Try to do the exact same thing I did with Red Brawly and also fucking got red for it again. So I wasted both of my Brawly's main abilities. And I'm down to 2 characters, which should have already put me at a pretty big disadvantage. That should have definitely been a sidestep into another card combo as well to kill Zamasu. That's a big fuck up, but luckily I am still able to recover. So we got Red Brawly here, and Trunks is just going in. And keep in mind, I hope you saw the heal from Purple Brawly. It's just nuts. So he killed Red Brawly. That's not really surprised. I'm able to bait out the Rising Brush, and then I go into my own Rising Rush. If I'm able to hit this, then, I'm going to win the game. If I'm not, then Trunks is no joke by himself. He gets huge blast damage boosts, and it gets to be very scary. And lo and behold, for some goddamn reason, he picks Super. So that's the second Rising Rush that has been guessed for me. About to get my Vanish bar back, able to Vanish, messed that up. That would have been a guaranteed hit because he wouldn't have had time to key class cancel, so messed that up. But with all those purple buffs on this team, Trunks just can't fucking kill Brawly. I get the hit, and I'm gonna throw the planet on him and kill him. This team is just so good. It allows you to recover from those type of mistakes, which is huge in a game like this. It's so defensive, yet it's got attack it needs to, and great utility. So think about playing this team if you're wanting something fun and defensive, and you want just something good. I'll be making some more videos on some other teams.